what we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Calumn McGregor.
Let's go!
Let's go! Another UFC fight night in the books, another UFC fight night upon us. Some good bounces, some bad bounces. Michael Johnson. Some interesting things. And you know what I wanted to do this time was really take some notes away from the event. Some things that I looked at, some people I want to fade in the future. I don't know if my perception's off on some of these. I want you to sort of see if anything you saw with some of the fights that you did see. But I mean, at the top of the card, if we look back on the weekend that was, we had the one first fight that, you know, I can go and say, I told you so, but I still was on a little bit of the Ronnie Lawrence side too. I thought if these guys fought quite a bit, you'd see different outcomes multiple different ways. And just the fact that the line was so wide, which just didn't make sense to me. And sure enough, I mean, it came true, right? If anybody threw Ronnie Lawrence into a parlay after we warned you, fine, go. If you want to go Ronnie Lawrence, do it. But bet the fight separately. You know, bet the props on it, bet it separately, keep it by itself, because you don't want to have to reload right at the beginning of the night. It's not going to help you out. It's just going to sort of leave you in a chasing mentality. That's just not good. Just poor decisions are made then. So let's try to be smart with the first fight of the night and carry that into, you know, next week as well too.
If you look at it, man, I think 5 weeks in a row, the dog has won in the first fight of the night.
Yeah, man.
Like, this has been an ongoing trend of just parlay killers to start the night.
Next fight that they had was Kennedy Njoku against Carl Roberson. Much of what I didn't think we'd see so much grappling from Kennedy. I thought he would tag him early and get Roberson out of there. I thought Roberson was going to just be sloppy in there, and ended up just sort of controlling him and showing a different wrinkle to his game. Then we had David Onama just obviously owning Garrett Armfield. I think that was sort of expected. And the one fight that I paid attention to a lot was actually Courtney Casey and Antonina Shevchenko, oddly enough. Courtney Casey won me over in that fight, man. I think that a lot of people sort of shit on her still. I think she won the fight, and I think that she was landing some of the bigger shots. And for me, man, I just think that, I don't know. I think Courtney Casey, you could hear her coaches yelling in the third round, and she was doing exactly what her coaches were saying. Mm-hmm. That's just someone I back. There was certain things I saw in the fight that, depending on the matchups, she's not going to be a fade for me, and I need to make a mental note of that, or obviously just put a note of that.
Her record definitely doesn't speak to what she is. Like, as I said to you before, this is one of the fights that I did actually go back and watch, and I was with you because, like, I heard a lot of people talk controversy on this, and I definitely scored for Courtney Casey too. I thought it was a clear 29-28. So
yeah, and then the next fight we go through Cody Brundage, Trayshawn Gore, and I had like a little bit of a slip up in the podcast, so maybe not everybody quite heard because it never quite made it to the podcast. But I know Cody Brundage is a wrestler, but you know, we've capped his fights in the past, but just going through and looking at you know, where he was from, whatever. Anyways, probably just not taping it the way I should. I was saying about him, his kickboxing and this and that, and then he comes out and he shows kickboxing. And not only did he show kickboxing, like his actual counter strikes, he was sitting in the pocket waiting and finding that little window and landing on Gore and landing with power with those short shots and even longer shots. So good to Cody Brundage. And shame on all of you for putting any money on someone who was 3-1 in the UFC.
That's facts, man. I didn't understand the line, man. Didn't understand the hype. I was heavy on Cody Brundage. I was more on the decision side. Did not necessarily see that KO coming, but hey, man, more the power to him. He trains with Dustin Jacoby, which we'll talk about later and stuff like that. So he's in a good place to formulate these skills and show us what he's got.
Jamie Malarkey, Michael Johnson. I'm going to say that was a robbery, man. I think that although he did get stunned and he was beat up and people are seeing him sort of stagger around the ring, I mean, he knocks him down and almost puts him out in the first round himself. And then I don't know. I think, I had him 1-3. I think Johnson won the fight. Maybe not a robbery, maybe just on that borderline of what you would say a robbery. But man, fuck, Jamie Malarkey comes out with the victory and shows what a warrior he is. But I mean, this is a line where if you did go Michael Johnson, you shouldn't feel bad. Like the line was so wide, and he pretty much almost knocked him out. You could say almost even twice within a moment there, and then almost won the decision. So it's not a bad play. Make that play, 900 or all the time, man.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
yeah, next fight we had Amin Zahabi and Ricky Turcios. I was all over this one. I don't believe in Ricky Turcios, and you saw why. That was a performance, acting on stage performance, like liberal arts performance. He was like key-eyeing and dancing around the ring and talking and shit. He landed like no strikes. Who would have bet that Zahabi, who's lower and more of a counter striker, who's waiting on Turcios, who didn't want to come in because he knew Zahabi does have power, man. And I was on Zahabi on this one. This one was a big play, and I think that Turcios just goes to show again. Some guys just have levels. He's not even close to the level of the UFC. I think it was proven. Next fight we had, both of you and I need to apologize for this one, and we'll just get through these really quick. But Chase Sherman, Jared Vanderaa. Chase Sherman comes out, and I don't know if it was that Jared Vanderaa was just so dumb and stood in front of him like an idiot, or if Chase Sherman's boxing actually looked that good. I know he's bare knuckle boxer, I get it, but he looked sick in there, and it was fun to watch. What I called the big bag of dick fight ended up being a pretty solid fight, so good one on that.
I'm pretty mad about that fight, man, because honestly, I didn't get to see too much of this card, and I had very little action on this card. And for some fucking dumb reason, I put Jared Vanderaa in my fucking parlay. I still made money off this card, but like that was like every other thing hit. And I'm like, I put fucking low level heavyweights in my parlay, man. That's just.
Next fight on the card, there was Said Nurmagomedov against Douglas Silva de Andrade. De Andrade showing why the line was a little bit wider than it should be. Had moments in that fight, showed Said that he's not this world beater that he was trumping himself up to be. And although he still is fully talented and cruised to a unanimous decision, De Silva de Andrade was in that fight at points. So definitely a good play if you were on that. Don't hate yourself for taking that dog shot. Next fight was Kyle Brahayo. We got to get that fucking name right, bro. Brahayo against Armen Petrosian. That fight sort of played out the way I think a lot of people thought. We were either going to see a buttery sub really early or a backpack for 3 rounds, and it sort of turned into that. Unremarkable, but he gets the win and moves forward. Hopefully he's fine-tuning his game as he climbs the ranks and gets these wins, because he's about to go into the Shark Tank, man. So we'll see how good Kyle Brahayo is. And finally, we had Rafael Fiziev against Rafael dos Anjos, and another situation where I feel like the theme of this is it was a good dog bet to take. Rafael dos Anjos was, a lot of people had Fiziev up on the cards, 3-1 going into that 5th round. I think I had a split. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if it was green colored glasses or not, but I think that Dos Anjos was actually landing some big shots and a lot of headshots, obviously. But yeah, man, Fiziev was just playing his game and actually was a lot more patient, just setting traps like he does. I love how he's like a cobra, man. He sort of lulls you one way, lulls you back, lulls you one way, lulls you, bam. And you just sort of fall into that trance. And I think the one thing that I'll take away from that fight is Rafael dos Anjos' corner potentially lost that fight, in my opinion. So I think that Fiziev was as tired as a lot of people thought, although he does come out with the KO there. Naturally, you're an athlete. You train at intervals. You train in different ways to explode. And when you get in between rounds, you get to relax for a minute and get a little bit of rest. You're going to have about a minute of explosion. And when you're a natural phenom like that, who has natural striking, you're going to be able to land combinations. So instead of saying, he's tired, go for it, say, maybe get him to throw a couple and then land. Right? Yeah. Get him to throw a couple and burn the gas tank in the first minute and then put in the gas tank. If you see him tiring, call it a day. I'm not saying that would have changed the fight. I'm not saying it would have changed the outcome. I just think it was a little bit of a fuck up in the corner. I'm okay with the stoppage. His eyes rolled back, although it was a little quick in the new age of stoppage. Mark Smith. As soon as I saw he was in the corner, I'm like, or that he was the ref, I was like, okay, well, I figured it might happen.
And to say, I think that was one of our better plays, though, because that's one thing you and I talked about a lot. The fact that a lot of people anticipated this fight going the distance. We're like, honestly, I thought if it ended later, it would have been on the RDA side. But once again, you know, I was pretty confident at some point in time somebody was going to get clipped. And it was Fiziev. And I changed my pick last minute. I post out a thing every week where my bets top to bottom. But that was a close fight, man. I don't know how the judges had it 3-0 Fiziev. I scored at least one of those rounds, I think, should have gone for RDA. So I was kind of surprised whenever I looked at the scorecards after the fact, but
it's hard because sometimes Fiziev's shots are still impactful, but they're so fast. He lands like 3 pretty impactful shots.
it's true.
They don't seem as much as RDA's one boom over the top shot, right? So it's really hard to gauge sometimes and sort of see what that really is. But okay, so we will move on to UFC on ABC 3. We have 11 a.m. start time. We got like, you know, across the pond soccer start times for us on the weekend to watch the fights. We will start with the main event, and I've gone back and forth on this one, and still honestly up in the air. And I don't know. We'll see where we go with this one. So we got Brian Ortega 15-2-0 against Yair Rodriguez 13-3-0. Both guys coming off some pretty big wars where they probably left a little bit of their own, maybe a year or two in the cage in the last couple of fights that they've had. Ortega, obviously, his main game plan is going to be to come in with attempt to use his striking to get inside and try to take down Rodriguez. But he ends up, you know, he goes to maybe run that game plan to get to his submissions, but he ends up just staying in the striking realm because he does have some solid striking, some good elbows, some good boxing. And Yair Rodriguez, we know what he's going to do. He's going to come in with some crazy kicks. He's going to come in with some well-timed strikes. He's good with his hands as well, too. He's just really dynamic on the feet, and he's really durable. So he'll take 1 or 2, and then he'll come in with a shot, too. So, I mean, Ortega's going to have to probably time kicks, step inside. Not probably, that's what he's going to have to do. Time kicks, step inside, land some boxing, mix it up with the boxing, changing levels, throwing feints, and try to get in for a takedown. If he doesn't play this game to take it down to the mat, I think Yair Rodriguez is going to style on him eventually. You know, although Ortega's got great striking, Rodriguez will end up, you know, putting him out or just winning a 5-round decision. So that's my thought on that one. But I mean, I just don't know if Brian Ortega can get this to the mat. If he does, I think Rodriguez is in trouble. I think if, you know, it's going to be maybe it's going to have to be like a club and sub situation, man. Like he's going to have to really work his striking and his boxing and his even a little bit of clinch game and elbow game up against the cage at times. He's going to have to figure this out. So I'm still a little on the fence. I think I'm leaning more the Rodriguez side. Sorry. But what's the line sitting at right now?
Right now, Brian Ortega is a -195 with let's go. Sorry, stupid thing just go down. Give me 2 seconds here. The line right now is Brian Ortega is a -175 with a return on Yair Rodriguez at +150.
Yeah, I mean, as that line starts to grow, I mean, I had initially, and we'll probably differ on that one. I had Charles Jourdain as my big dog of the week, but if that line gets bigger for Yair Rodriguez and I stick with him, then, you know, whatever line's bigger is the dog of the week. That's why I'm going to be playing that from now on. So, yeah, man. What are your thoughts on this, man? How do you really see this one playing out?
To be honest, man, like I'm actually pretty high on Yair in the spot. If you look at Brian Ortega, we all assume that he's this big grappler and a big takedown guy, but he shoots less than 1 takedown per fight. It's not like he's coming in. He's got a ton of UFC experience, a big sample size. So it's not like this is just 1 or 2 fights. Like usually whenever he ends up getting a submission, right, he usually rocks the person and then like jumps guard like what he did in the Cub Swanson fight. But generally his jiu-jitsu positions comes off somebody else's failures or somebody else being in an unpredictable situation. So I don't know how much his offensive wrestling is going to show. Like we might see as what we saw with Kennedy, where he's going to come in here and just start doubling the guy. But there isn't enough of a sample size for me to really go off that. Whenever I look at Yair Rodriguez, as much as we haven't seen him much over the last couple of years, you look at those calf kicks that he was throwing at Max in that first round, man. It almost took Max out. Like I honestly thought after that fight, we made a bad bet going in with Max being such a big favorite. And I think if he comes out here and starts just wailing on the legs and just kind of puts on a striking display as we know he can, I think Yair's can easily win minutes here and kind of just frustrate Brian Ortega.
All right, man. I think, I always, obviously we're doing a podcast together because I trust you when it comes to MMA, and I've been back and forth on the fence with this, but I was leaning with Yair, and I think I'm going to follow suit with you there on that one. Next fight in the card, we have Michelle Karate Hottie Watterson against Amanda Lemos. And I mean, this one, the line is just blown right up. So any kind of angle I would want to take on it, or any kind of, pretty much my pick is just not untouchable, right? So I think that Lemos actually takes this one. I think that it's now a value play at this point, but I still, even at the widest line, I don't know if I see Watterson really doing it. She just doesn't seem to be herself of old. I don't know if it's sort of, she stepped away from the cage for a little bit at points, and just really isn't in it the same way. Like, she seems to still be training a lot, but I mean, she's not quite in her fights the same way anymore. She seems like she's one step behind in a lot of her fights. And I mean, against Rodriguez, I know that, her striking is awesome. So I know that she would probably be one step behind there as well too, at least with the hands anyways. But Watterson, she's now even, she's actually moved to wrestling now. She's trying to take girls down. And I don't know if in this fight, she's really going to have an advantage anywhere. I think that Lamos's power is just going to be there. I think she's going to land. And I've seen Watterson even sort of shell up at points when she gets touched up really good. So she is a warrior. I don't hate anybody for wanting to take the value play on this one. But I just don't see it. My pick's Lemos, but I'm staying off this one. I just think that over the course of 3 rounds, whether it's early or late, I think she's going to touch her. Either Watterson's going to bow to the pressure early and break under the power of Lemos. Because, Watterson's going to come in with some kicks, some leg kicks. She's going to come in with some faster hands. But she's just, like, if she comes in, she's going to throw 1, 2, or 3. They're not going to be as effective. And then we're just going to have, bam, one lined up, one big counter lined up, and Lemos is going to tag her. And I just don't know if she's going to respond really well. On the other side of it, Lemos, I don't think she beat Angela Hill. I was on the Angela Hill side of that fight. I know that's a big conversation people are having. Obviously, she runs into the standing arm triangle in her last fight, but I can't really beat her, can't really get mad at her for that with Andrade. But I'm still taking Lemos. I think she just has the edge here in this fight. Thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree, man. But as you said, the line's kind of unbettable at this point. Lang was a -320. -320 on Lemos is just gross, man. It's women's MMA. Lemos is known for gassing. She got finished in her last fight. I do wholeheartedly agree with what you say. I think that if Watterson wants to win this fight, I definitely think it's in the grappling. I just think Lemos has too much of a power advantage, where Michelle Watterson likes to throw her little T kicks and tap her opponents, but really doesn't go for any sort of finishing or kind of intent with her strikes. And I think that even if she throws a couple shots, those big shots from Lemos are really going to keep her on the back foot. There is a chance we do see a wrestling heavy game plan from her. As I said, like, Lemos is kind of known for gassing. So we may see that on her side, which is why I say this is kind of a complete stay away. I think odds are this fight's going to decision. Fight goes to this decision right now. It's -215. I think it's really the only play I like on this, or over the 2.5, -220. But
yeah, it's tough to really touch, but that would probably be the best play.
Yeah, it's women's MMA. Odds are you're going to see scorecards. But laying -320 on somebody who has shown to have quite a few faults, and somebody like Watterson, who does have a relatively high experience advantage, in my opinion, is just something you should stay far, far away from.
Fair enough. Okay, next fight on the card, we have Jingling Lang against Muslim Salikov. Obviously, Li Jinglang, he basically gets smothered in his last fight, and we don't want to hold that against him. I think it's going to be more of the opposite in this. If wrestling gets going here, it's going to be him actually that's going to get the wrestling going against Muslim Salikov in this bout. But really, do you see this standing on the feet? I see this standing on the feet. I don't see this really playing
100%.
anywhere else. I think that Jingling Lang, I can't even say his damn name right. He basically will. He's too prideful, right? You can see him when he gets in there, and he gets hit. He likes it. He wants to get in the middle of the battle. So he's just going to go in there and try to stand with a guy who's just way, way far superior in the stand-up, who in 3 rounds is either going to pick him apart for 3 rounds or put him out. And I think that Salikov, wins this one pretty handily.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. I've never really
Too
been
good a
high.
kickboxer, man.
What's that?
Too good a kickboxer.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think Muslims aside in this one with Lee Julien. He's got good striking, but like the problem with him is that he relies kind of a fair bit on power to be able to win fights, and he kind of just throws like these awkward blitzes and stuff like that. And I don't really feel like he's very formulated in the strikes. Where like you look at Muslim Salikov, super calm, super composed, and just kind of like patiently waits for his opponents to throw the shots and just kind of counters off them, has great kicks, great punches. Like he's very calculated in what he does, which is why I think this is just a kind of a terrible bad matchup for Li Jieliang. Because once again, like he's going to throw like this at those awkward blitzes, and Muslim Salikov is just going to be able to counter punch him and either get him out of there at some point or ride it off to a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think the play I'll probably take is going to be a KO or a decision, just to sort of cover the KO as a play on that one. I'm probably going to have some touch on that one. I just think he's leaps and bounds ahead, and I think Li Jingliang is going to play into his wheelhouse. Next fight on the card, this one's could be rough to watch. We have Matt Schnell against Sumadarji. Sumadarji coming off of when was his surgery? I'd only just heard of, like when was the surgery that he had? Do you know?
No, I honestly do not know.
Something I'll look into, but he had the knee surgery, I believe it was. But regardless, Matt Schnell, sort of a master of none, but sort of decent at everything. And it's very obviously what his path to victory is here, and everybody's sort of breakdown is very similar on this one. Sumadarji is going to want to either pick Schnell apart for 3 rounds and then eventually catch him, or we're going to have Schnell try to take him down, submit him. How do you see this one playing out? What are the odds sitting at right now currently?
Right now the odds are sitting. One second.
Like if Schnell can make this a little ugly and get inside and try to get this to the mat, he could definitely make something happen. But I just don't think that if he holds Sumadarji up against the cage for moments and then gets caught out when he's standing at range, that he's going to win on the scorecards, right? I don't think that's going to really do it. So I just don't know. It's a tough one to call, but what do you say the lines are sitting at?
They're sitting at right now minus 270 for Sumadarji and plus 130 or plus 230, sorry, for Matt Schnell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's low level enough that if you want to take a shot at Matt Schnell, I'm not going to fight with you on it, but I'm just not going to really touch it much. I think that Sumadarji probably keeps out of most of the trouble that he needs to and coast to a decision victory. That's sort of how I see it playing out. But how do you see this one playing?
Yeah, I kind of agree, man. At the end of the day, if you look at both these guys, they both land about 5 strikes per minute, and they both absorb or between 3 and 4 strikes per minute. So honestly, I like violence in the spot. I don't think the line is really justified on Sumadarji. I'm totally gonna fuck this up, and John's gonna make fun of me. But yeah, like you gotta assume that Matt Schnell gets finished again. Like he's definitely not the greatest UFC fighter, and he's definitely shown so much weakness in the past. But I think they will stand there and trade. Either one of these guys lands over one takedown per 15 minutes. So I think they'll probably meet in the center, throw hands. Schnell may be forced to shoot, but I think somebody's going to sleep in this one for sure.
Sounds good to me. Next fight on the card, we have Shane Burgos against Charles Jourdain. We have the very game boxing savvy 14-3-0 Shane Burgos against Charles Jourdain, who is somebody who I wasn't fully backing in the past, but I'm backing now. He has shown something in his last couple of fights that you want to see in a fighter, and he goes for it. He's a little bit more calculated in his past 2 fights, but at the same time, he's just, man, he just wants to get in there and hurt people. And Shane Burgos, obviously a little bit more of the UFC vet, but Charles Jourdain coming off of the submission victory and a beautiful 3-round fight prior to that with his big, his big kick at the end what am this is Sparta kick. There we go. My brain is a little fried, ladies and gentlemen. But with Shane Burgos, the only reason why I'm going to fade him in this spot, besides, well, two reasons: Charles Jourdain's momentum right now and how full of piss and vinegar he is. And Shane Burgos, when he got switched off there, that still scares me. I still think about that. And I just wonder if he gets hit by somebody who has intent to put him out and can land a big strike to your jaw. For the line right now, the line is, I think Jourdain's sitting at plus 150. I think the line's probably going to get a little bit wider because I get it. Shane Burgos' hands, I think, are probably a little bit nicer than Charles Jourdain's hands. He does have nicer boxing, but Jourdain's going to use all four of his limbs. And I think that, if you put these guys in the cage together, like say 10 times, you're going to see a little bit more of a split. I don't really see the line. I don't know, man. I'm thinking Jourdain in this one as the dog. I think he's going to be able to come in and create enough chaos and land enough on Burgos and create enough moments where he either wins a decision or puts Burgos out of there. I'm on the side of Jourdain. I know a lot of people on the Burgos side of this. I get it, but I'm with Jourdain on this one. I just think momentum is a real thing, and the new Jourdain in the past two fights, I'm with.
Yeah, I lean more the Shane Burgos side. In all fairness, like with Charles Jourdain, I faded him in his last fight, so let's hope I don't eat my words twice on this because he literally pants Lando Venado right in front of all of us to see.
He did,
but I just think with Shane Burgos, like I think he can land the crisper strikes. Like with Jourdain, he tends to need things to be a firefight, and as much as Shane Burgos can bring that. And if you watch a lot of Shane Burgos fights, he's very calculated in everything he throws. Where with me, Jourdain kind of throws wild and he is relatively calculated. But once again, like he's kind of trying to capitalize on people just like wearing themselves out and stuff like that. Where with Burgos is going to be there all 15 minutes. But it's definitely a close fight. I said or as you said, Shane Burgos right now is around a minus 170. So I think it's fairly lined, but I think Burgos probably walks away with a decision on this one.
Yeah, I can see for some reason, I just see Jourdain being able to keep it just outside of the boxing realm, where it's not just fully a boxing match, and being able to land some kicks, maybe land some, effective calf kicks as well too. But we shall see, and I'll take the dog money on that one, depending on where the line goes. I mean, obviously, if he moves back into favorite, he's still going to be my pick, but we'd stay off the betting line. But next fight in the card, we have Lauren Murphy against Miesha Tate. Lauren Murphy, 15-5-0 against Cupcake Tate, 19-8-0. What's the line sitting at currently on this one right now?
The line right now is sitting at a minus 175 plus 175 for Lauren Murphy and a minus 205 for Miesha Tate.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with Miesha Tate, obviously we know that the story here is the strength of schedule. She has been off for a little while. People are talking about is the weight cut bad or whatever. But if you follow her, she's been pretty much sitting around the weight for quite some time now. She sits pretty light. She's been pretty good as far as keeping her diet in check. So that's not really a worry. Now, the only thing is with Ketlen Vieira, when she fought Ketlen Vieira, she came in with this striking style, and everybody was sort of saying, oh, yeah, it's a new striking style, and she was landing a little bit. I just looked at the striking, though, and it leaves her really exposed. And if she's going to do that, like she comes in with her strike, I think Vera could have actually done a better job of landing counters on her and actually really selling me on the fact that she actually won that fight. So I don't know, man. I think that it's very interesting, this matchup. I think that Cupcake's going to have to go to the grappling. Miesha Tate's going to have to get this up against the cage and get her down to the mat. Use that strength, use some submissions, at least attack some submissions to at least create threats so she's actually scoring on the cards. I don't know if this fight's going to probably go to the decision. And I really don't want to touch it. Normally I would, but I felt a little weird after that last Ketlen Vieira fight. I don't know really what Cupcake's going to come in. She could come in and steamroll Murphy. Like she could come in and take her to the mat and submit her really quick. And we're like, fuck. But I'm going to sort of stay away from this one and sort of see what we get. I think Cupcake probably wins this one, but Lauren Murphy winning wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, honestly, man, I agree. Like, I'm definitely on the Miesha Tate side. I think she'll probably be able to get takedowns and win minutes here. But like one is says women's MMA, so bet the decision, and two, like Lauren Murphy's super live in the spot. Like if this stays standing, I highly give the advantage on the feet to Lauren Murphy, and even in the Calumn Vieira fight, like Miesha Tate didn't look great, as you were just pointing out, and she wasn't able to utilize her game plan. She wasn't able to get takedowns, and she just kind of looks sloppy overall. And if she comes out and looks that way, she's probably going to get pieced up for 3 rounds. So, like I will say in most women's MMA fight, bet the over. It's your safest bet. And if anything, just maybe even bet the dog, as I said. Or if you see that like Miesha Tate gets the takedown and she's kind of looking gassed or not really in it, live bet Lauren Murphy because she'll be in it for all 3 rounds.
That's not a bad play. Next fight in the card, we have Punahele Soriano against Dalcha Lungiambula. All right. We have Dalcha Lungiambula 11-4-0 against Soriano, who's 8-2-0. And this one, I mean, I think this is a violent spot. I think there's a potential nice little violent spot. But Dalcha, he's sort of plotting. You sort of see his shots coming. Obviously, he does have the power, but he's looping, man. And I think that Punahele is going to have the advantage on the feet and be able to land, be a little bit more creative with his footwork and get in and out and land on Dalcha. I'm just not a fan of Dalcha. I don't think he's UFC caliber. I think that he's shown poor fight IQ. He's shown gas tank issues. And I just think that the era of that guy who's just so muscle bound that all he has is this here, like this. I just don't really see how that really flies anymore, man. So I like the violent spot. I think that's sort of the play on this. What's the line sitting at currently?
Line is currently sitting at minus 240 for Puno, the plus 200 on Dalcha.
And then what's the fight doesn't go?
One sec.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah, so it keeps
under.
Yeah, it keeps kicking me out of my thing, so I'm just using best
right.
fight odds right now. Fight doesn't go to decision is minus 175.
Okay, that's a little bit.
It's a little juicy
at this point. Yes, I don't know. How do you see this one playing out? I just don't think that there'll be enough cage time control. Dalcha is just, I don't know, man. I just don't think he's UFC caliber. I think he needs to get out of here at this point. Even capping him or talking about him is annoying at this point. No, I don't know. Just seriously, man, I just don't see him winning this fight. I think
you're gonna be surprised, man. But I'm taking Dalcha on this one all day. I think the line's way too fucking wide. I like a lot what I see from Dalcha on the regional scene, and I just don't really think we've kind of seen him put it all together. He's a judo black belt. He's very good at kind of implementing his game plan, and I think I'm gonna bring up Kennedy a couple times. We probably will for the next little while, because whenever you see a guy who has skills, but yet just doesn't really know how to formulate a game plan, at some point in time, he's either going to fade away or come together. And that's kind of where I'm at with Dalcha. Like I say, he's got the wrestling background. He's got the striking. The problem is he's kind of a muscle dummy. And the second he touches his opponent's chin, he wants to go balls to the wall. And we all have seen it every single time, man. If you have that much muscle mass, you're throwing wide hooks and just going crazy, you're going to gas out and you're probably going to finish.
Striking these holes, man.
I think he just needs fight IQ. And with Punahele Soriano, like, he doesn't have the craziest amount. I know. But he doesn't have the craziest amount of volume. They say he got taken down a lot by Nick Maximov, which it's nothing to be mad about. That's what Nick Maximov does. But I do think Dalcha will probably be able to control the first round. And then I think it becomes anybody's game at that point, because Soriano does start to slow down as the fight progresses. And I feel like as long as Dalcha can have a grappling heavy first round, I think you could, and not completely gas himself out, I think you'll probably see him come on late. And
I think it's going to be sloppy as shit. And we just called the bag of donkey dick fight of the week.
May be talking about this, and you're probably going to be laughing your ass off if he gets KO'd in like the first 3 minutes, which is very possible. But I'm going to take the plus 225 or whatever.
No, I get it. I think that the levels where they're at the money, it makes sense. It's his value play. I get it 100%.
Soriano was like what, 9-4?
Yeah. No, he's 11-4. The next fight of the card, we have Ricky Simone against Jack Shore. Ricky Simone 19-3-0 against Jack Shore 16-0-0. And we have a case of two guys. We have Ricky Simone, who's a great wrestler with some power in his hands and some decent boxing. We have Jack Shore, who has probably a little bit slicker boxing, a little more precise boxing, a little bit less power, some good grappling ability, and good jiu-jitsu. And this is a very interesting fight because I've been waiting, and only because I saw a couple of things in Jack Shore a couple of fights ago. Not waiting for it because I like the guy. I'm a little bit of a fan of him, but at this point, I gotta, tip my hat to the fact that maybe he's ran up against somebody that he is going to get edged by, whether it's a decision and get owned for 3 rounds, and or potentially even taken out. And I don't know. I think that Ricky Simone is a huge step up. And I think that this fight is a huge measuring stick for Jack Shore, really to see exactly how good he is. Because 16-0-0 is great, but now you're really in that upper level. And I don't know how he fares in this fight. I'm still on the fence with this one, man. It may have to be almost a value play because I think that if these guys fought till the end of time, it would just go back and forth, back and forth. You could end up seeing a 3-round decision where Shore sort of lands some decent strikes on the feet, stays away from Simone's power, and then ends up maybe owning some backpack positions. Or you could see Simone on top, just landing some big shots every once in a while, owning top position. I know I'm giving multiple outcomes, and it's like, what the fuck? But I'm really back and forth on this one, man. What's the line currently sitting at right now?
Right now I got a -165 on Jack Shore with the return on Simone at +140.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that right now it's at a line where you can't really. I mean, I wouldn't say that. Oh, you got to go with Simone for the value play there. I mean, if you think that Jack Shore's the winner at that line, then you got to take that and stick with it. But I mean, with Simone, if that line gets any more inflated, I don't know, man. Like, how do you really see this one playing out? Do you really see the power of Simone actually doing it, or does Shore actually sort of use that footwork, stay away at points, use some of his striking, and able to grapple himself to a decision when he needs to?
To be honest, I think Simone will grapple himself to a decision. Like, Simone's landing like 7 takedowns per fight, and he's landing them on the much better level of competition. Jack Shore, that Timor Vallia fight did kind of worry me a little bit. As I did, I think for a lot of people like you and I, Cap MMA, like, he got clipped a couple times, and honestly, he didn't look his best. I think it kind of not derailed the hype, but it definitely left some questions. I think this fight should be a straight pick 'em, which is why I have to side with the value on Simone, just because like Simone's in your face, man. The guy can absorb 15 punches and the guy never moves. His hair just flies through the friggin' wind. Blood could be going side to side, and he's still in your face, throwing punches, shooting takedowns. Like, he's our modern day Clay Guida. So I sided with Simone a little bit, but honestly, I see this fight going 15 minutes, and I think if anybody says they're really confident on a side, they're lying to you. Because
like I was saying, it could either be Simone landing a big shot or landing a couple big shots that leads to a decision for himself, and also with that wrestle heavy top game plan, or like I said, you could see some grappling from Jack Shore. And what I mean, he's going to take that back and sit on the back and potentially do that. You could see that, or you could see
close
running some strikes. I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, it's going to really be a position game, and will the power and the wrestling really prevail? I mean, if the line continues to go wide, I don't see any reason why not to dabble in that.
And the strength of schedule is heavily on Simone's side too. Like, his
100%.
last loss was to Rob Font. So,
like I said, huge step up, right? So
yeah.
I think we're sort of on the same page with that one. But it's very interesting, and I think if Shore really passed that test, he's gonna have to do it remarkably. Like, you're gonna have to see some big things from him, and if he does that, we got a contender, right? So
For sure.
we shall see. Next fight in the card, we have Bill Algeo against Herbert Burns. Both guys their strong suits obviously is going to be in the grappling, in the submission game, and both guys have some decent stand up. Herbert Burns has some power, decent clinch game on the cage. Algeo's not too bad on his feet. He can hold his own on his feet, and he's going to want to look to get to the ground. But this is going to be a case of Herbert Burns. I mean, he's an early or bust fighter. Like, he's going to be a round and a half. He's giving you 7 minutes. And I don't know really where that goes. I mean, you could look at maybe even a Burns early dry submission, although Algeo is that good. I think that's a potential play, or KO. So you could just say, Burns first round, or you go LGO, like maybe even submission, or just go third round, right? Catches him with something and then submits him. I don't know, man. Either way, I think that if this goes to the decision, I think LGO is going to be the victor. I think that he's going to end up, winning the second and third round handily. First round, maybe be a little bit more hesitant. But how do you see this one playing out? I think that with Burns being out, the last time he fought was, I think, when Daniel Cormier was champion. So what do you think about this one?
Yeah, the thing with Burns, man, is like, so his last 2 fights that he actually had, and as you stated, it was quite some time ago. He missed weight by a lot. So it's one of these things where you kind of have to see the scales, and he has severe cardio issues. We saw with Algio, man, like, who's the guy he just beat, knocked out Andre File, the name's escaping me, but either way, like, he took massive shots in that fight, and Joe Anderson Brito, thank you. He was able to just kind of recover from whatever Joe Anderson Brito was throwing, kind of implement his own grappling game plan, and kind of ride himself to a decision there, right? So I just don't really see what Herbert Burns has for him. I was just looking at best fight odds. Herbert Burns by submission, round 1 is only plus 550. That's not a big enough line for me to really be too interested in.
And it's a low. Although it's his win condition, it's an early sub. It's maybe a dry, neck grab or something else. It's a plus 500, no dice.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's, with a submission prop, it's plus 400. So like, why are you gonna throw an extra plus 150 for the round? Like, come on. I think Algio rides out, the moral of the story here. I think Herbert Burns probably wins a first good round if he's lucky, but then we're going to see gas tank issues again, like we see in most of his fights, and Algio will either get a late stoppage or ride it to a decision.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that actually that might be a play. It's Algio third round decision. I think that's a good line to touch on. So we will maybe put that one out. I think you and I are in agreement on that. So next fight in the card, this is my strongest play of the night. Because I'll ride this man, and that sounds so bad. That'll be the title of the podcast. Until he shows me not to. Dustin Jacoby against Dalcha Lungiambula. Dustin Jacoby, his striking is just far superior. I think that he's going to be leaped. I'm just jumping right in. He's going to be leaps and bounds ahead of Dalcha Lungiambula in this. Although Dalcha Lungiambula's striking is good, I think it's good enough that it's going to play into Jacoby's hands. If he didn't have a dance partner, that could create a totally different fight. Either he goes in and annihilates people, or it doesn't quite turn into what it needs to. But if he has someone that's going to dance with him, he's going to be able to run into his game plan. And you're going to see him just take over, land those leg kicks, bang, 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 hit the jab, hit that 1-2, hit that 1-2-3, start pulling his combinations together. And I don't think that the little bit of grappling that he may have to encounter is going to be enough of an issue for him. I think he's going to be able to pull Dalcha Lungiambula into the striking match that he needs to if he tries to grapple him. So I just see Dustin Jacoby. I think this line should be wider. Some people don't agree with me on that, and I don't know if you do as well. But I'm going to go Jacoby all day on this one. I think that considering where the line is, or at least last time I looked at it, where it was sitting at, this is one of my strongest plays of the night. Yeah,
so right now Jacoby's sitting at a minus 130, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. The thing with Dalcha Lungiambula is that I think people are crediting that
Sam Alvey
split decision. Come on,
Sam
people are
Alvey.
Oh, he won that fight. I'm like, he still went to a split decision with Sam Alvey.
Smiling Sam Alvey.
Come on, but I don't really buy in the hype on this guy. So one thing I've been focusing on a lot lately, whenever it comes to MMA betting, is my ROE on fighters, man. And my return on investment with Dustin Jacoby is fucking high. This guy makes me money time and time. He can lose this fight. I'm still betting on his next one. Because every single time I bet on this guy, even in that Osher Jacek fight, the one he just had there, the guy came in there injured, didn't tell a soul. And, that fight was close. But he still came through.
That's a risky fight to come into injured, because Jacek will actually come at him, man.
That's it. And he came out in the third round whenever it was going 1-1, and he did not look good in the second, and he fought for our money in that fight and won us some tickets. So with Dalcha Lungiambula, I don't really see it. Like I said, if people are like, oh, he's got takedowns. I'm like, He tripped William Knight with the same fucking trip takedown like 47 times. And William Knight's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't really think he's got the best ground game in the world. And with Dustin Jacoby, every single time he gets taken down, he's immediately working to get back up. And that's tiring. So I don't know. I'm with you, man. I like Dustin a lot in the spot. And I think Jacoby just rides it out, man. I don't really have a prop play on this one. I think I can see late KO, but probably rise to a decision.
Yeah, I'll probably I'll lose a little bit of points, but probably touch a third round decision prop again on that one. So next fight in the card, we have Dwight Grant against Dustin Stoltzfus. Dwight Grant 11-5-0 against Dustin Stoltzfus, who's 13-4-0. Dwight Grant's somebody who I find hard to get to the window on. He just wouldn't give you the volume. And I remember trying to look for splits with him because he does have the power, right? So his opponents usually land 2-1, even sometimes 3-1 on him, but he'll land some bigger shots. So if the decisions happen, you're looking at splits maybe. But then his last fight, he came out, and yes, I know he's been touched and even put out to pasture a couple of times recently, but in his last fight, he came out and he's throwing a little bit more, and it surprised me and multiple people, and I was sort of taken back by it. And I remember thinking like, wow, okay, like I like this Dwight Grant. I know obviously he didn't get that win, but I mean, I liked what I saw there. And I think that against Dustin Stoltzfus, I think it's a good matchup for him. I'm not really heavy on this fight, but I just think that Stoltzfus is going to have to try to work some striking to get this to the mat. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get it there. I think that Grant's pretty strong. And I think that I like what I saw. I like momentum. I'm a momentum guy. When someone swings in a different direction, that means that they're, either someone's gotten in their head and opened up something that made them realize they need to do certain things, or in training, they're training certain things over and over again. But the fact that this guy's throwing more volume works for me. So I'm going to go with Dwight Grant in this fight. What's the line sitting at currently?
The line right now is sitting at -140 for Grant, +120 on Dustin Stoltzfus.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think it is what it is. I'm not really touching it too much, but Grant's my pick for this one. What's your thoughts?
I'm going to lean the dog on this one again, just slightly, right? So Dwight Grant's moving up weight for this one. He's talked a lot about how the weight cut's been something that's been getting to him. And although he is big for the weight class he's currently in, I think at 185, he may look a little bit smaller. And I just worry about the advantages that Dustin's going to have. Because if you look at Dustin's last couple of fights he's lost, he's essentially lost to grapplers who were just able to out cardio him. You look at Mearshart, got the late submission. Look at Rodolfo Ferreira, who's able to get the late submission, both third rounds. And Kyle Dog is not really the best grappler, but has a relatively heavily grappling advantage against a lot of people. Dwight Grant's not going to have that. And once again, it's just kind of the jump up in weight that makes me nervous. And the thing with Dwight Grant is Dwight Grant could be the best fighter on the days he wants to fight, but he's low volume. And whenever he doesn't put it together, he really doesn't put it together. And to me, that's just something that's worrisome. So I'll take the shot on Stoltzfus to be able to take this to the ground and get a submission in this fight.
All right. So we have a head-to-head. I think we had a couple more, but I never thought I'd be wanting to back Grant in this spot, but I just, like I said, I think momentum, but I fully see your angle on that and the little bit of size there. So now we have the first fight of the night. If we're going to go with just purely odds based on what's happened in the first fight of the night in the past little while, we're going to go with the dog. What's the line currently sitting at?
+130 for Jessica Pena with a -150 on Emily.
Then we look at women's MMA. Most recently, women's MMA, the dogs have been biting, barking, and fighting. So now we have two reasons to go with the dog on this. But then the dog you give me is Jessica Pena. And I don't know if when we have someone who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on the other end, and Emily, how do you say her last name? Is it Ducote or Ducote?
Ducote, I think.
Ducote? We'll go with Ducote. We'll run Ducote. So Emily Ducote, although has some really good, some decent striking, some good power, also is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And Pena's win conditions now are sort of subs. That's how she sort of had this resurgence. So I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not really jumping on the dog on this one. I think that everybody should just stay away from this one. I think that the smartest thing, and what did I say last week? I said, if you're going to play the first fight of the night, keep it separate. This one, I'm not even saying play it separate. I'm saying just stay away from it. There's no reason to really bet this fight. There's no real angle on it. I don't know if like you can go through the lines. Is there really anything in the lines and the props that are really there?
No.
If there's not, then just stay away from it. Maybe go over 1.5. But for some reason, I'm telling you, over 1.5 might not happen. Just because the first fight of the night has the curse. Women's MMA has been a little bit hard lately. I'd say stay away from it because Panay just grabs her neck and tears it off in the first, I don't know, 2 minutes. I don't know. That's never going to happen. But I mean, crazy things can happen. And I'm just saying, stay away from it. It's a banana peel fight. It's the one that'll piss you off again. Don't do it. Don't do it. Your thoughts?
I think Emily beats the shit out of her, to be honest. Her striking's so much better.
I do too, but
but you are right. Like, it's one of these fights where it's like, what do you really see happening? Like,
I don't want to sell it. I know she's probably going to tag her up.
Yeah.
And he's going to go to take her to the ground. And then Dakota's probably going to actually submit her, when she's in a weird situation, or TKO her and get her, in a mounted situation or something.
You know what, though? There's one thing you're not talking about, right? There's that OnlyFans fade that people keep talking about. And Jessica Pena, that's a third thing, man. This fight is cursed. Stay away.
Okay. Well, either you go all in on Emily in that case, or you just fully stay away.
The OnlyFans fade has worked every time, so I don't know.
Wow. Three-tier fade or 3-tier curse.
But
yeah,
no,
I don't know,
honestly,
man. Like I said, it's too hard to really say what's going to happen. I mean, we can obviously say Emily would probably come in and land some bigger shots on the feet because Penne is just not good on the feet at all.
On the feet at all, yeah.
And Dakota has some good power in the hands. Probably see a club in some situation. You could call inside the distance. See, this is what happens. This is what you do. You could call in inside the distance. Now you're pulling up props. Don't pull at any props. Stay away from the fight, ladies and gentlemen.
If you're betting props other than decision props on women's MMA, you have a problem. Just letting you know that.
Not in every fight. That's not true. Andrade.
That's true. We cashed the first round submission last time around, okay, against Jessica Rose Clark. So not every time, but a lot of the time.
Okay, your strongest pick on the card. Jacoby?
Yeah, Jacoby's got to be up there, man.
Me too. So we're on the same page with that. Prop play on the card, Bill LJO, third rounder decision. I mean, I don't know if Ricky Simone is my biggest play as a dog. I don't really think it is because I'm back and forth still. I know that you're sort of on the Simone side. I really like Jourdain as a dog, and I know that you're on the other side of that. So we sort of have two different dogs for the week. If you were to look at it, though, what would you say would be a potential? We might even have a parlay this week. So we have Jacoby. We have Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And what else?
Algio.
You think he rides?
Yeah, he's definitely one of my more confident picks, to be honest. Now that looking at this, like, I didn't realize how many dogs I was kind of on. And shit, son, there's a lot of plus money on my side this week.
There is a little bit of an issue if we have Burns come out after 2 years and he has this weird like growth in his MMA game and he comes out and looks like a world beater.
He
and
finally figured out how to run on a treadmill,
Put down the Big Mac.
I'm sitting here drinking a beer, man. I can't say shit. Talking shit about this guy.
But yeah, I like to see Michelle Watterson do it, but I don't think she's going to. I think Amanda Lemos, although I'm not really, not that I'm not a backer of her. I just think that she, like I said, lost the hill. And then it was a hard fight for her against Andrade. Rodriguez is going to be a fun fight to watch. I just think that if you don't jump on that Jacoby line right now and it's sitting at -130 or whatever the fuck it is, you're an idiot. That's a money line play straight up. Stay away from the Penne fight. Don't be an asshole. LJO, you know what? It's actually a stronger play on the card looking at it. So I definitely am with you on that. And we have learned that you are the #1 fan in the Dalcha Lungiambula.
I'm riding with it. I'm probably gonna.
All right, brother. I think we found some spots this week. As always, I'm Calumn McGregor. He is Nick Eglad, the man with the angles. We love to look at spots. We love to watch tape and try to line our pockets as we line yours. And if you don't like it,
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Let's go.
Let's go.